Very good morning to all of you, and thank you for coming. So this is the last T1 tutorial for fundamentals in derivative trading, and very warm welcome to everyone. So I know it's early on Saturday morning. There's good and bad. I woke up at 6 myself. You come here and many of you are going to capital markets, and by 1 o'clock your day is basically done. So like I said last night, depending on how you guys feel, we may or may not have a T2 on Thursday, coming Thursday. I'm happy to, and if you have any questions in the meantime regarding the course, please feel free to let me know. Always happy, but if I receive questions from you, let's say I get some questions from you today, tomorrow, or Monday, I most likely will respond to you by video format and come back to you on that. So it's only if you want to meet on Thursday, that's a little bit late, that I'm happy to do so. So what I want to do today, I want to take attendance near the end. And, so I will, so if you don't mind, I'll just do it with everyone at the end. What I like to do today, so this is already the last day, or the last session, and you probably had enough of derivative mathematics. So what I'm going to try is just take it easy. I want to give you some feedback, first of all, on your presentations. I thought they were wonderful, and I really enjoyed listening to you guys. I want to tell you lots of interesting stories to go with your presentations, and they really made me think, as I was doing these guys, and I listened very carefully. So that's the first thing. I also would like to just wrap up on the discussion we've had for the last 2 weeks regarding time decay and gamma revenue. I think if you want to claim that you understand derivative trading, you really have to understand that part. And I was never entirely happy with the way I covered it. And questions came up from time to time, and I modified my slides. So I brought to a stage now where I am a lot happier, and I will show you the final results, the final slides. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I would like to just briefly give you a summary of the course, and there were over the course of the last 10 weeks, there were questions being asked by some of you. So I want to relate back to some of the questions. And then the last thing is just give you just an overview of what to expect in the final exam. Okay. So that's the agenda for today. Let me just first of all kick this off. And so this is what we're going to do, a bit of recap on the Greeks, and hold on a second. Yeah, so and then I will just give you a summary of what we have learned and kind of like a mini course outline. Now, regarding just on the logistics, if you go to Blackboard, just alert you to
if you go to Blackboard, what I have done is you should find that under the tutorial folder, I have added a couple of things. So first of all, there is a document with all the tutorial scripts so far that I have made, slides from time to time. So on the delivery part, try not to just read the words, because when you do that, the audience will be wondering, I can read that myself, so I don't really need. So you know what? You are a presenter. You are not a reader. And what you should do, and I say here, add value to the slides. The slides are two-dimensional document. It's flat. And you are not two-dimensional. So I think a good presenter, in my mind, a good presenter adds values to the slides. And a good presenter makes the slide add value to him or her. It's the way I think of it. For example, if there is a guitar, it's not a guitar, but imagine if this was. There's a guitar here, and I'm a guitar player. The guitar doesn't play itself. So that's the PPT. Me standing on my own, I can't make the sound of the guitar. But when you add the two together, something really magical happens. You know what I'm saying? So it's like 1 + 1 = 3, in a way. Okay. So just think of that. Now, so when I was listening to you guys and then watching all the presentations, and I started writing down the sort of common denominators with all these cases. And in the end, I came up with 7 attributes. Now, there may be more than 7, but I didn't start with 7. I had no intention, and I have no idea how many I would come up with. But in the end, I came up with 7, and I call them 7 deadly sins of institutional training. You know about the 7 deadly sins. So it's just a coincidence. I happened to come up or end up with the number 7. Now, with the exception of Soros, which you could argue is a happy ending. I don't know if you can say it that way, but all the other ones were basically disasters. And I found the flash crash actually a little bit hard to pin down. So that doesn't appear very often here, but all the other ones, all the other cases, they appear somewhere here. So for example, if you talk about poor procedures, poor systems, poor control, poor management, I can think of these companies to start with. SocGen, JP Morgan, Bearings, China Aviation. Now, there's no right or wrong. Maybe you can argue with me or you can disagree, so you're welcome to. But this is what I think. So it keeps happening. In fact, there was another case, wasn't there? UBS also lost a lot of money. And more on UBS in just a moment. And the second thing I can think of was fraud, where people are outright dishonest and wanted to cheat the system, cheat the company, cheat the shareholders. And I can at least think of SocGen. There was a criminal intent behind, and also Bearings. And do you agree? The other ones, I don't know if people in China aviation, they purposely wanted to cheat. You think they did? Oh, that's not good. The third one is what I call a martingale mentality. Now, I think all of you have heard of the term martingale in IPA. However, there is actually a second meaning to the word martingale. I don't know if you're aware of that. You might have heard of it from someone that exactly. If you go to a casino and you are betting, what's it called, dart show, and then if you bet $1 and you lose, you double up, you bet $2, and if you still lose, you bet $4, and if you still lose, you bet $8. Do you think you actually can win doing it that way?
Money is if you are very rich, yeah.
But casino will always imply some kind of restriction on the money amounts you could bet.
Yeah.
Which one?
I think you can't win. I think you can't win because for each game, your expectation is actually negative, as you know. Thank you. For starters, and then, as you said, there is a limit to how much you can bet, and if you even start with 1, so you know if you get 4 or 5 losses in a row, and I have seen that, your losses can quickly escalate. So either you are stopped out by the upper limit, or you run out of money. I found out very painfully myself. I tried that once in Las Vegas. It didn't work out. But you saw that this is what I call the martingale mentality, double or nothing. And you see that from time to time. And I think that kind of happens in all of these cases. Correct me if you disagree. Right? But in the case of SocGen, JP, LTCM, Barron's, almost all of them, they thought that they can bet bigger and recoup the losses. I advise you not to do that if you are seriously thinking to become a professional trader. You are more likely to end up getting sacked than not. But you know what I found interesting was that, so look at the case on Barron's from here. Okay, now am I right? Did I hear you correctly? You said that Nick Leeson was actually, once he started cheating, so he was making a little loss, and then he tried to cover it up with a bigger position. And at one stage, he was actually profitable.
Yes.
He was,
He
right?
was able to cover the future losses in one day, but then he continued to build up a very long position. And then just accumulated some capital.
Wow. That really made me think. When you, and I was not aware of that. Now I am. So he had a little loss, and he tried to cover it up by taking a bigger position, and he actually made money. Now, if he actually stopped at that point, we would never find out. So that made me think, how many Dick Leesons are there out there today that we don't know of? You know what I'm saying? But in his case, he just got greedy, or he got too confident of himself. On the subject of Dick Leeson, do you know what he does now? This is just for a laugh. I thought I would show you. Sorry? He wrote a book. Yeah, well, he went to jail to start with. And then he went to jail in Singapore. got the royal treatment from the Singapore jail time. And by the way, it's Nick Leeson, not Nick Lesson. Okay, it's L-E-E. I think in some of your slides you wrote L-E-S-S-O-N. It's not Mr. Lesson, Mr. Leeson. Okay, well, he looks a lot older. I think he was diagnosed with cancer while he was in jail. He's out of jail now, and he actually has a website. Did you know that? nickleeson.com. And for a modest fee, he would actually come and talk to you or your company. Now, I don't know why, personally, I don't know why I would want to go and listen to it. This is an example of someone who is just famous for being famous. And wow, okay, this is the real thing. But anyway, you can. Another one that comes to mind, actually, a similar character. Have you ever seen that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street? It's funny.
Yes.
The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio, and that movie was crazy. You know, the funny thing about this is the guy was never actually from Wall Street. He was working at brokerage, but the brokerage was located outside of New York. A guy called Jordan Belfort, I think. The real guy, Jordan Belfort. It all starts with this formula, and I will re-quote it here. It starts with this formula that is in the lecture notes. Now, this formula is in lecture number 6 on page 21. And I ask you to focus on this. What is this formula? This formula actually connects all the Greeks that you care to think about. The time decay and the delta and the sigma. Now, sigma is not actually a Greek. Sigma is the implied volatility. S is just the stock price, and this is gamma in the capital form. So in lowercase, this is uppercase gamma. So lowercase gamma is actually written like that, which is what I've done here. And the pi here, importantly, so the pi here is actually the value of a derivative. So let's say a call option. Okay, now this is Professor Howe's notation, so I am trying to follow that. And I say here, now here there is another formula. So this one is, I think, in the part of the Howe textbook when he starts quoting the Greeks. But earlier, when there was a derivation of Black-Scholes, page 300 something. So you see this formula, and again they are using that the notation of pi, so it ends up actually confusing people. So I changed it here to P. So P stands for the portfolio. But that's another formula. Okay. Now, what I would recommend is you go with this. You start with that. Probably the most important formula that any option trader should know. And So like I said, if you just rearrange this formula a little bit, which is what we did last time, and so you've got R pi. Now I actually, and I do apologize for the slightly confusing notation. I'm just going to replace that with F. So RF minus delta S is equal to theta plus a half times sigma S all squared. Sigma S all squared times gamma. Are you guys okay with that? Can you see where this came from? It's just rearranging this. You are rearranging this. You are taking R delta S to the other side. So these terms just stay as they are. So this is a rearranged form of that formula. Now, I should go back and explain what is this formula. Apart from the fact that this formula connects all the Greek of an option with this value. Okay, so this is the value of the option, and these are all the members of the Greek family living happily in one equation. They're all there, except poor little rho. Rho doesn't make it. You know what rho is? Rho doesn't make an appearance. What's rho? Yeah, this is the. Now, I'm not saying that rho is unimportant. It can be important, but in this equation, it doesn't actually appear. So you assume that interest rates are static, and then I'm simply rearranging. So it is effectively the same equation, but you get some pretty interesting observations coming out. Observation 1. So let me just rewrite this. And I knew it would take a few attempts before we get it right. So I'm rewriting the equation. This is the rearranged form of the equation. If ever you go for a trading interview and you start discussing things, at some point in time, try to quote this formula to the interviewer. I think you can't go wrong. Okay. You can't remember. Well, I just remembered it just now. I'm a lot older than you. I'll show you how to remember it. So observation 1 is what happens if interest rates are 0. If they are 0, if R is 0, then basically theta plus sigma S all squared times gamma is equal to 0. Is that right? Now, this is really the mathematical way of saying that if interest rates are 0, then your time decay should be equal to your gamma revenue, or your predicted gamma revenue. So this is the time decay. This is the time decay. Yeah. Can you say again? Yeah, I know, but actually, I think I shouldn't have done that. But if you assume interest rates are 0, well, you don't assume. I'm just saying if they are 0, and they have been zero. If that was the case, if interest rates are zero, so don't. I'll show you in a moment what if they are not zero. Okay. Yeah. No, if F is equal to delta S, is not a delta neutral position. Well, I'll show you very quickly. Again, I quote our old friend. Now you have an option here. Here, your so-called F of a call option is around $3. Now, delta is 0.53 and S is 100. So F is not equal to delta S. Okay, so what you just said actually is not entirely true. Okay, but this is the so-called gamma revenue. Gamma revenue as predicted by the market. Now, what does that mean in English terms? It means when you are running an option and the price of the underlying is here right now, and you hedge it, you are always going to make a little bit of money, no matter whether the market goes up or down. If the market goes up a lot or goes down a lot, you actually will make more money up or down. But the market is actually predicting a certain amount of gamma revenue because the implied volatility is known, or not known, but it is a parameter that is part of the input. So it is predicting a certain amount of gamma revenue. And in the absence of interest rates, that gamma revenue should simply be your time decay, which is another way of saying you actually don't make any money or you don't lose any money. The money that you expect to make either here or here should exactly cover the loss in time value. Now, observation 2, and this will answer your question, Liang Shuang. If R is not zero, well, then you actually get back your original equation. This is the part that I think I didn't handle so well last time, and I want to clarify that. If R is not zero, then you get this equation. Now, like I said, theta is actually a negative quantity. So if R is not zero, we can ask yourself, what is actually going on in here? What's going on in here is you are long, so let's say long a call, and you are short some stocks as a delta hedge. So this is actually taken in its entirety. This is actually that delta neutral portfolio, or it is the cost of that cost of the delta neutral portfolio. Delta neutral portfolio. Now, if you remember, and this part you do have to listen quite carefully. If you remember, so always when we are discussing Black-Scholes, always try to think back at the most basic case, which was the binomial And remember how you can have, this is a very simple binomial where the spot price is now 20, and if we say that in the next period, it can either go up 10% or go down 10%. This is kind of like, the implied volatility at play. So it can either go up here or go down there. So there exists a portfolio where if you hedge it properly, you are guaranteed identical outcomes, whether the market goes up or whether it goes down. And that delta, that hedging ratio, there is a formula to calculate that. I won't go through that part because you know it already. But if you hedge it that way, the portfolio itself will have a value, an end value of 450. So you discount that back to today, and it discounts to 437, given an interest rate which is non-zero. So the portfolio is 437. So there is a 13 cents to go from 437 to 450. There is a 13 cents accrual in that period. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at this carefully, that is exactly what is happening here. So you have this initial portfolio, and then you have the interest rate here. I think Gloria was asking me this question, not last Thursday, but the first day before. She said, I thought that when you have all these Greeks lined up, and then you have the theta, and then you have the gamma revenue, I thought you should be earning something. You should be earning the interest rate accrual. And you are right. But at that time, I didn't think of presenting it to you this way. So now do you understand what's happening? So the theta, if interest rates are non-zero, if interest rates are not zero, okay, if interest rates are zero, then your theta would exactly be offset by the gamma revenue that you earn if you are long options. If you are short options, the theta that you earn will exactly offset the gamma revenue that you end up losing. That's when you are like this. Okay, now that's if interest rates are zero. If they are not zero, then if you are long the option, then so you're going to lose on the theta, you're going to gain on the gamma revenue, and there will be a net difference which will be equal to your initial portfolio value multiplied by the risk-free rate. What is this? This is that 13 cents that you just saw. Okay? And if I'm talking too fast, now I have made some slides to supplement this. And you can, so I say that this portfolio is, this one is the delta neutral portfolio. It's delta neutral. It doesn't mean the cost is zero. I think that's the confusion. It's the delta is zero. The cost is not zero. Okay. So let's say you are long. So you're long the option and then you delta hedge it. So instantaneously it is delta neutral. Now I say that this equation actually has the footprint. It contains some characteristics that you can relate to within the binomial, the simplest, the binomial model framework. And today is the last chance for me to share this with you. So I really want to, I really want to get this through. So you use a rearranged version. So the sigma is actually predicting the likely gamma revenue that can be earned by providing the likely price dispersion. So if your sigma was 32% per annum, I'll tell you what that actually means in option world. If your sigma was 32% per annum, which is how many percent a day? 2% per day, because you divide that by 16. And if your stock price was 100, let's say your stock price was 100, Black-Scholes is telling you, or the market is telling you, that in the next day, you are likely to get $2 of movement, up or down, it doesn't matter. That is what implied volatility can be used for. So next time you see, okay, I'll give you an example. So if you look at the S&P 500 futures option volatility. Now, right now, I think it will be somewhere around 14% per annum. Where can I find that info? Or I'll just look for the VIX, which is just an average. So the VIX is currently, it's around 14, it's 13.5. Now, what does that actually mean? If the S&P 500 itself is around 2,700 points, and the sigma is around 13.5%, what does that mean in practice? So first of all, this is the annual vol. So the trading day vol is this one divided by 16. What is that? So 13.5 divided by 16. You know why I'm dividing it by 16, right? Dividing it by the square root of 256 trading days. So that is 0.84%. Let's just say 0.84. Now, huh? 13.5 divided by 16, 0.843. Okay, now I'll tell you what this means or how you can use it. The market is saying that on a day-to-day basis, the S&P 500 should move this kind of magnitude. So you multiply 2,700 by this. $2,700 times 0.0084, it's around 22.7. So the market is saying that every day it should move somewhere about 22 points or 23 points. If it does this, then the gamma revenue, if you are long an option and you delta hedge, the gamma revenue that you receive will exactly offset the theta that you lose, and it will give you enough money to cover that accrual. Now, somebody asked me a question, and it was a very good one. It was Shitang. Is she here? So on Thursday, she asked me, how do you know whether this item in brackets is positive or negative? And I thought about that for a long time, and then I answered her question in an email later on. I added this slide here, and I'm sorry, it's quite wordy. So again, if I was to re-quote that formula, I must have done it like 65 times by now. Bless you. Okay, I am still referring to this formula, but I now tear it apart into different components, and you look at the two sides. Now they are just opposite sides of each other. So if you are long the call, and then you short some stocks to delta hedge it, so it becomes delta neutral. So the flip side of that is when you are short the call and you are long the stock. So if you sell the call, okay, it's easier to understand this part. If you are long the call, then your theta is negative because every day that goes by, you lose time value. But if you are short the call, of course, it's the opposite. And this item here, which is this one here, you earn it. If you're long the call, you earn gamma revenue. And this one, your delta neutral portfolio. Now, if you are short the call and you long the stock, this item here is actually positive. And this item can be related to, when you look at this simple portfolio, so you are short, if you sell the option and you buy a quarter of a stock, which is what we say here, you buy a quarter of the stock, then your entire portfolio at the start will be 437. Now, that has to be paid for. It's worth something. So when you are short the stock and you are long so if you are short the call, you are long the stock, that portfolio is worth something. You have to pay for it, or if you don't have any money, you have to borrow and fund it. So that portfolio is worth something. You need to pay for it. And then on the other side, the gamma revenue together with the theta, now this is the right-hand side of the equation, the whole thing has to be positive, because the theta that you earn, so you earn the theta because you are selling the option, and then this is what you earn. This is the gamma revenue that you will lose. The difference needs to cover the borrowing costs of your delta neutral portfolio, which is this one. So if you can understand what I'm saying here, so I try to answer Sichuan's question. I sent this to her and she said, okay, now I understand what I'm saying. Do you? You might need to go home and review it in more detail, but on the other side, if you are long the call, so you are losing on theta, you are gaining on gamma revenue, but someone will actually pay you for this portfolio. It's the person on the other side. You can put that money into a bank account and you can earn the risk-free rate, which is what this is. So instead of borrowing and paying for the borrowing cost, you get the money, you put it in the bank, you earn that accrual. So Gloria, that was your question, wasn't it? So you would earn this accrual, and this accrual that you earn will be exactly equal to items on the right-hand side. Okay? So I added this slide, and I wanted to make sure that people are completely comfortable I also, on Thursday, I did a demonstration of the precise relationship between theta and the gamma revenue. So I did that 2 days ago. So if you are curious, you are quite welcome to go back and have a look. But essentially what I did was, just to simplify matters, I had an option which had a spot price of 200 and a strike of 190 and an implied vol of 48% and 90 days to maturity. And I demonstrated that the theta, at least the calendar day, the trading day theta of that option is equal to 0.142. And you always have to use trading day theta for option pricing. Calendar day theta is useless. Okay? So you convert the calendar day theta into an annual theta by multiplying it by 365 and then dividing it by the number of trading days in a year, which is 256. So you get back your trading day theta, 0.14244, should be equal to a half times sigma s all square times gamma. This is the gamma, which is here. And the sigma is 48. That is the annual volatility. So on a daily basis, it is 0.3. So end up, when you do this calculation, you get this, and you end up with 0.142452, which is exactly what the theta is. And so I did that demonstration in the tutorial 2 days ago. All right. So try to get comfortable with this, because this is really useful. Okay. So I will put that video online as well. I am going to put so we're here. I'm going to put this video online also. Okay. Now, in the remaining time, allow me then to just give you a quick rundown. So this is expressing this equation, or the rearranged form. This is the rearranged form in plain English. So in a perfect world, when the implied vol can really exactly predict the market price movements or the dispersions. Dispersions means up or down, I don't care. So the time decay and the gamma revenue, so these are the items on the right-hand side, should exactly equal to the funding cost of a delta neutral portfolio, which is what this is. Go and talk to an option trader, you read them this sentence, they know what you're talking about. Okay. And of course, if interest rate happens to be 0, then the right-hand side will be equal to, but that is a special case. Okay. Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. In English, it is a long-winded way of saying that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. But I just try to explain to you what the right-hand side is and what the left-hand side is. The right-hand side is the theta and the offsetting gamma revenue. They're always in the opposite direction. So either you earn theta, you are losing gamma revenue, or you are losing on theta, but you are earning on gamma revenue. So that difference would always be the funding cost if you are borrowing to fund a portfolio, or if someone is paying you to take on that portfolio and you put that money in a bank, you actually will earn a little bit of interest. And that's all you gain. Okay? I feel that this is the most important thing I want to share with you for this course. Now, let me just give you a quick summary of what we have learned. So from the start of the term, so we started with forwards and future pricing and what their differences are. And then future settlement convention, please be aware of that. So some futures are settled for physical delivery. That's what I mean. Some are settled on a cash settlement basis. You actually find that in the specification. They will tell you whether it is physical or cash settled. Proxy hedging strategies, hedge ratios. So I think you know how to calculate those. Binomial pricing, always important. American options and early exercise. Volatility skews, why they exist. I mean, what are they? And why are they there? Why is it that you see them all the time? And then we talked a little bit about fixed income. So this is just an outline of things that you should cover. And then spread trading. Long call, shorter put. Long call, longer put. Shorter call, shorter put. Longer call, shorter another call. All of those things. You should be able to draw some diagrams. Just a bit of advice for you. Option Greeks, a very important topic. The individual Greeks, but what they actually are. But for me, most importantly, how they connect, which is what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. And how you manage them. VIX is the last topic, but an important one. And I want to leave you with an interesting question. A few years ago, we were discussing an option where it was a 3-month option. The option itself was 3 months, and the volatility was 135% per annum. Actually, this can make a good interview question. So there was an option. It was a 3-month option, and the volatility was 135% per annum. So that means, if you look at it from a normal distribution point of view, what we're saying is that this option predicts that there is a 1 standard deviation chance that the price can go up 135% per annum or down 135% per annum. Now, quantum is good. Immediately, he reacts. He said, how can the price go down 135% per annum? It's not possible unless you leverage. That was exactly the question by that student. And he said, oh, there's an arbitrage in there. He said, it is not possible for the price to go down by 135%. He said, there's an arbitrage. there is a catch in this argument. Actually, he's not right what he said. I don't mean Huadong, I mean that student. Okay? He said there's an arbitrage. There is no arbitrage. Huh? Do you understand the question? The question is, I show you a 3-month option, and the implied goal is 135% per annum, and then that student reacted similar to what Marvin just said. He said, you can't have an asset with a 1 standard deviation chance of this kind of loss is bigger than 100%, so there is an arbitrage in there. The maximum you can lose is 100%. Did you hear that? He raised the question and then he answers it. His answer is like the cat. The cat. And I keep saying that. And then maybe some of you caught on. The catch is, I kept saying it's a 3-month option. It's a 3-month option. So if you had to figure out what is the volatility for that period, you would be dividing the annual volatility by how many 3 months are there in a year? 4. So the volatility is actually 60 something, 67.5. So there is no arbitrage. If this was a 1-year option, I agree. If it's a 1-year option, then you can't have a price distribution that exceeds 100. That I agree. Okay. It's like saying to someone, oh, I did a trade the other day and I lost a lot of money. And then they ask you, how much did you lose? And you say, well, I lost 500% per annum. What? Were you leverage? No, I wasn't. Well, I lost 2% on the day. But because there are 250 trading days in a year, so on a per annum basis, I lost 500%. So although you can't actually do that over the year, if you have a daily loss like this, when you annualize it, it is possible. Okay. You see the puzzle here? Yeah? Okay. I thought I'd mention that. It was a neat little observation. Now, I'm going to let you go, but this is the exam briefing. So next Friday, and there will be a seating plan. It's 2.5 hours. There are 2 sections. Section 1, there are some concept questions that we ask you to write, a couple of paragraphs or half a page, and then there are calculations. These are the things that you should bring. Okay. Now, I was going to, so a couple more things. If you have questions on the course or you want to see me on Thursday, let me know. Send me an email and ask me anything you want. Number 1. Number 2, I was going to ask you guys to come up here and sign your attendance, because some of you guys were taking photographs of my QR codes and sending them around. That's really not good, okay? But we don't have time to do this, so never mind, I'm just going to flash it up, okay? But please don't take photos and send it around, okay? It's not fair for other people, okay? So write to me, and I thank you for your attention, and I've enjoyed very much having you guys around for this course, and I hope you learned something too. Okay? Thanks, everyone.